Good morning everybody and a warm welcome this morning to Wild Earth here in Djuma Game Reserve in South Africa, and to the water the Mefelsons and the baboons because they are still around here, and I think after that we'll head around to see if Karula and the cubs are still around, and I'm sure they will be unless there's something that happened last night. And that was quite a big male impala that she brought down yesterday, and if there was nothing that happened, no hyenas that dragged it away before she put it into a tree, or even lions or anything like that, then she should still be around. Keep your fingers crossed. Here comes the other male, rushing into the bachelor herd by the looks of it. Funny, they haven't gone too far, but that obviously is far enough. He's made his point. And he can return back to the females now. The female herd is just over the way there. Might just be able to see one or two impala there. These boys have actually turned around and started heading that way, so I think he must have decided not in there. So we heard over the last couple of weeks, or new viewers, this is the rutting season. We are coming to the end of it though. But one of the noisier antelope. Yeah, I'm going to turn around. We may just be able to see that sun rising. I was hoping to get back out onto Zoe's road before the sun was rising. It's looking like it's getting quite intense there. Here comes the male waterbuck. I think we'll drop down a little bit. The sun is rising now. There's a female waterbuck. The male is just behind her. can hear some guinea fowl calling. You hear the liquid call of the longtail or magpie shrike. Absolutely stunning sunrise, and actually there's so many colours to this. Those guinea fowl are calling. I think we need to take a trip around the dam just to see if there is anything going on down there. We're not going to spend too long. I can see there's another water boat coming from that side. The male's carried on. Morning, any stations out on drive this morning?
Morning, Tara.
Copy, confirm you've got him this morning.
She's got 2 monkeys with Alabama. I'm sure you
Well, it is quite a beautiful morning for that. Disappeared, they want some privacy. Here's a magnificent bull. Now she's urinating. He probably will try and test the urine. Now I can hear the guinea fowl. They are somewhere down here. She's not interested. She keeps walking away from him. Okay, I think we need to go on the other side and see if there is something. Oh, he's going to try again. You see, she just keeps taking a few steps. She's not actually helping him at the moment. It could be because the baboons just aren't taking. Right. Sorry, you're breaking up a bit. Did you say there was first standby open? Copy, thank you. Oh, same lock as yesterday, were you saying? Okay, so it does sound like Karula and the cubs are still there in the same place with the kill, so it doesn't sound like anything happened to them last night. So it does sound like there's 3 vehicles there, and if we do have any new viewers here in the Sabi Sands, there is a rule that to try and keep the animals relaxed, or a lot of people found maybe in the trees. What are you all chattering about? This lot don't seem to be too concerned, so I wonder if they saw something on the opposite side of the bank. Or it could be something small. Looks like they're actually centered around, there's a bush just to our right, and looks like they're centered around there. Baboons are going. Okay, if baboons can see, so maybe it crossed through here.
Or I might come around behind you eventually.
We're on the other side now, and he's looking here. And I'm wondering whether it's on the other side of the dam. Because these guys, if it's crossed through, I don't think they would be on the ground, but let's just have a quick look. And also, if they are running this way, I'm sure they would be running the other way. And maybe it is on the other side. He's not calling now. So it must be, it's just one bark, it must be that they don't feel completely threatened. We're in these trees here. I'm not seeing them on this side now. So while we're waiting to go and try and see Karula in the coast, we might as well see if we can find who is causing this commotion. Now, there's a baboon on the ground here. You see they're all sitting around in the trees. The baboon is on the ground. And if we do have any new viewers, this is the Gary gang. And they do utilise the owner's house here, and they've actually learned that this is an area of safety. There is a fence there, and it does actually keep them safe at night. But if there's a problem, they may bark, and even bark. So maybe there's little Evelyn. Okay, so we need to go back down towards the dam. Somebody was upsetting the guinea fowl and the baboons. We might just stay here just a little bit longer. The geese were calling this morning. I thought maybe somebody is moving around down here. Hi Chris, good morning to you. Wondering if we see a change in the animals' activity level in the winter, or even just behaviour. And the winter, it definitely does change the behaviour of the animals. You find in the summertime, animals tend to avoid the heat of the day. Certain animals do, and most animals do. Maybe some animals don't mind the heat of the day, like the giraffe. buffalo at noon to graze, but in the winter time you may find them actually grazing during the day. So animals' habits do change with the winter time. Now no one is shouting. See, the waterbuck. I've got a branch stuck in here. The waterbuck did look, and just as we were watching the sunrise, she was a little bit hesitant. She was listening. But they were making their way down here. Checking the branch down here. To a guide yesterday, and they said it looked like Mishu was walking up Weaver's Nest Road towards Filman's Dip. And remember, there was one of the guides following up on male leopard tracks yesterday. It sounded like in the same area that he found some of those tracks that they saw Mishu. So it sounds like Mishu may be either coming through and saying a quick hello to his mother before he moves off again. He might be staying here a little while, who knows? Mishu being one of the male leopards. He was born about 2.5 years ago to Karula, our resident female leopard. And who possibly might be upsetting everyone down here at the dam. There's no clothes around here. Right now, we'll start heading round to where Karula and the cubs were left. It's worth trying because, so if you get the calling, there's a good possibility of spotting them. Now the baboons aren't barking, the guinea fowl are quiet, which means the threat has gone away, or has disappeared, or is no longer seen. Just trying to get a different perspective from this side. But there is a drainage line just by the lodge, which the leopards do utilise a lot. There was actually an Egyptian goose on the ground. Just down by the water's edge. And they're also pretty vigilant. So I think the threat has gone further away from the dam. Even leopards, I mean, you generally find the leopards sleeping a lot during the day, even the lions, but at winter you may find them moving around a lot more, but that's only a general rule of thumb. It's not a strict rule, because even during the hottest part of the day, occasionally you might find a leopard walking around, moving around. But I have seen lions hunting a lot more during the day in the winter time than they do in the summertime, like going and actively hunting. In summertime, if the opportunity's there, then they might just take that opportunity. Especially during the heat of the day, they're more likely just to be resting. And during the winter time, you find the animals congregating more around the water holes, because there's going to be less and less water available in the bush. Maybe whoever it was disturbing them maybe walked off that way. I didn't see any tracks, but maybe cut through. Let's try and avoid other access. Although somebody was on the ground, but he did run straight back to the troop. And these waterbuck didn't seem to do anything, and there was a female waterbuck that came from this side. Whereas in summer there tends to be a lot of water around, little mud puddles will fill up little temporary pans. So there does seem to be, well, there does tend to be a lot more water around during the summer. So animals, you may not see them as much, especially with the vegetation as well being so thick. You tend to get the animals coming to these water holes, and in winter it's quite a nice thing to do, is just to sit and watch what comes by a water hole. So it's usually quite busy, depending on the area, but you may get all sorts of animals coming down to drink the water. Hello boys. These boys didn't see anything. The male impala we had at the very beginning of drive. Okay. Good morning to you, Richard and Lisa. Welcome on board this morning. Great to have you with us again. And hopefully ready for the next instalment with Karula and the Cubs. We are going to start making our way that side. I think probably, oh, hello. Saw some tracks there. Wondering how big the area is. And human intervention, do we have any endangered species? And the area we traverse is probably about the baboon tracks, that's what I saw. The area that we traverse is roughly around 800 to 1,000 hectares depending on the signal. Baboons have left pretty quickly.
Alright, Tara.
Standing by?
Morning, Tara. I'm pulling out of Karula and the Leopard. You are welcome to make your approach. Full of solid blanket.
Up, thank you. Is the bamba in the tree?
No.
Okay, still on the spot. Up, thank you. Now that's interesting. Sounds like the kill is still on the ground. Very interesting indeed. So I think we do need to get there just in case something happens. I'm quite surprised how you didn't find it last night. Let's go and see Karula and the Cubs, and then we might be able to come back. The baboons must have been off already. Those are very fresh tracks. So while we were down the dam, the baboons were making their getaway. So just going back to Richard and Lisa's question, the whole area of Sabi Sands and Kruger National Park make up the Greater Kruger National Park, or Greater Kruger, and that's around 2.7 million hectares, sorry. I'm getting distracted by some tracks here. hyena tracks. Hyenas are heading this way. So the animals can decide how they want to organise themselves. They can have the size territories that they need, the movement that they need. But with us having a fence around it, like all game reserves here in South Africa, got some more Impala here on the left, they all have fence around, so to a certain degree you do need human intervention to keep that balance, whether it be controlling fires that may happen naturally, to maybe actually starting to burn certain areas, and they actually are doing a study in Kruger on the best time to burn and things like that, the best way to burn, because burning is very important in this type of environment. It releases a lot of nutrients into the soil, so fires are needed, but if you have too many fires, then obviously that can cause a lot of damage to the bush as well as to other things like lodges and things like that. And too little fire may also be a problem, but they are looking into maybe other ways, because sometimes fires can run away, sometimes they can just get out of hand. It can be quite a dangerous thing, so they are looking into different ways, like maybe cutting grass or cutting an area and seeing if that will actually help. So they are researching into that. So there is some human intervention, but for the most part we try not to interfere. So if there is an animal that is injured, and it's injured naturally, then we're not allowed to interfere, no matter how severe the injury, because at the end of the day that is nature's way, and that is how the predators will survive. That's maybe how a lion, for example, who's a little bit off colour, or maybe he's a little bit ill, he may be strong enough to be able to survive by picking off maybe someone that's slightly weaker because of an injury. If he's not supposed to survive, then he won't be able to do that. He won't be able to help himself and hunt even an injured animal. But it's all to do with the natural balance of things. And sometimes it can be very difficult as a human who enjoys seeing animals and who has a very, very big passion for animals all across the world. It can be very difficult for humans to actually see pain or suffering of an animal. But what you've always got to remember is this is the wild, and a lot of times it's easier said than done. But this has been going on for millions of years, and it is the natural cycle of things. Animals that get injured or get disease are weaker, and they will feed the predators, and it may mean that a healthier animal doesn't get eaten that day, or maybe it's the difference between the two, and that healthier animal goes on to live. It can even be the animal that's injured or ill may go on and may avoid predators, and if it's strong enough it may avoid being eaten, so it will actually go on, and that parent that has offspring, that offspring will be just as strong as the parent, because maybe there's something in their genes that makes them that slightly bit stronger. And as far as endangered species go, there are a few species here that may become endangered, or maybe are endangered. The ground hornbills we saw a few days ago. Unfortunately, the loss of habitat, like seeing them. Cheetahs. There's not a great number of cheetahs in the world, and that was due to a bottleneck of the species. The species as a whole crashed. There was many cheetahs that died around 10,000 years ago. And their numbers slowly increasing, but because again loss of habitat and hunting of cheetah and for their pelts and things like that, unfortunately those cheetah are still not growing in great numbers. Lions also, some species of lions are becoming endangered because they don't have enough habitat. They are persecuted in many areas, so they can run the risk of becoming endangered. Even the white rhino that we have here, white and black rhino. White rhino, I think there's only around somewhere around 7 to 11,000. I need to get the exact figures again. White rhino left in the world. Black rhino about 2,500 left in the world. Very, very small numbers. So there's a number of species that are either becoming endangered or are actually still are on the red data lists, and that categorises how endangered an animal is. They can be critically endangered depending on the numbers that are around. To be extinct, the animal hasn't been seen for 50 years, no sign, no track, no dung, nothing for 50 years for an animal to be classified as extinct. Very, very sad state of affairs. Okay, I think we're going to use these tracks here. I need to head over to the weeping wattle. It's quite interesting that she's using this weeping wattle. Now we're heading into the area where we last left Karula and the cubs. There is a vehicle here. Okay. So just to warn you, if I go very quiet, it's because I'm not able to talk to you because we're too close to the vehicle, but we'll see how we go. We may get into a position where we can park a little bit away. So if I go very quiet, or if I talk very quietly, that's the reason why. Just so we don't disturb other people's sightings. Because these people may have saved up their whole life, and this is their one chance to see a leopard in its natural habitat, and they don't want me chattering away and spoiling it for them. Actually, you know what? Maybe we should go around the front. I think there was possibly a spot to see them there. She's just in here. There's one of the cubs. Can you see there? Back a little bit. Looks like the two cubs, one of them was on the impala carcass. Goes to show leopards don't always put the kills in trees. Now I wonder if this is possibly a little bit too heavy for Karula to put into a tree at this stage, and I think that's possibly why she chose this weeping wattle to hide it under. It's nice and hidden, the vultures haven't seen it. Remember, they flew over yesterday and they didn't come down. And that is a little female. I see Karula now. She was sitting over the other side there. Pretty much when we left her yesterday. Look at this. Just about see her in the middle of your screen now. I'm thinking we might get a better view from where the other vehicle was, so I'm just going to pull round. Oh, sorry. Proud mum. It's almost as if she's eyeing up another possible meal over there. She's certainly looking that way. I wonder if those male impala are still around. Nice and open here, getting a nice view of her. Hello, little one. Good morning to you, Alan. Welcome on board this morning. And I hope you're doing well. Wondering if the cubs have been named yet. And the cubs, as yet, haven't been named. And the reason being is we weren't the ones that found them. So the rule of the Sabi Sands goes that after a year, because there's quite a high cub mortality, the cubs get named. Now in the past, Wild Earth have seen the cubs first, especially with Mishu and Duna. They were the first ones to find them, so we could actually name them a lot earlier. And to avoid getting two names, like Saseka and Tingana have, they've got two names. They've got the names that we know them by, and they've got the names that Sabi Sands knows them by. So to avoid having two names for them, we want to make sure that everybody reads off the same page. So we're trying to get the cubs to be named as early as possible. But we are waiting to hear from the people that saw them first, and Lex was or the person that actually found them first. So we're hoping to try and get in touch with him, but it's proving a little bit more problematic. So hopefully we can.
Karula's moving at the moment,
Where is she moving?
Looks like she's stalking.
Oh, is she stalking? Okay, well, let's see if we can pull forward. This is where we need two cameras. Sure, it looks like they've actually eaten quite a lot of impala. If I can maybe pull around the front, we might still be able to see the female. We might also be able to see what Karula's up to as well. Little cub's following, look. He's seeing what Mum's doing. You're going to sit there, little one. Can you see it there? I don't want to move too close. Oops. Shame we can't see the little male, but he's crouching low. He's actually copying exactly what she's doing. He was crouching low, and she was crouching low. And he's gone to exactly the same spot that she was sitting at and having a look. But I think there must have been some movement right across the way, because I haven't seen anything here, and she was looking right over the way there. You see the little male?
No.
You just see, just on that termite mound, or just behind it. But as soon as we know that they've been named, we'll certainly let everybody know. And it also is giving us quite a good opportunity to see what their character's like. So I like to try and get the names as close to their character as possible. Now, unfortunately, we haven't really seen these cubs as much, and I know a few people have been commenting on the fact that I haven't seen the cubs as much as Mishu and Induna. And I think a lot of the reason for that is she's been just over the side of Triple M, and this side a lot. And Triple M is our main boundary, just a few meters from where we are now. And she was hiding the cubs there a lot. Cubs gonna stalk Mum. bit. We're just past that bush. See, ever alert. The slightest of sounds and she's up again, listening out, watching out. And she is very opportunistic. If there is an opportunity that comes her way, even if she has a first kill, there is every chance she might make a second. Because they don't really know where the next meal is coming from. So if the opportunity presents itself, it's better to take that with both paws rather than turn your nose up at it. Now I don't think her territory extends too far beyond Triple M, but it's unfortunately over the other side where we can't drive. And obviously, as I said earlier, the animals have full reign of the area, but we humans don't. And she was keeping the cubs this time on that side, but apparently Mishun and Duna she kept more in the centre of the territory. Now if you remember, there was a lot of hyena activity around that time, a lot of lion activity. It may or may not have influenced her, who knows? I'll tell you something, I hope she sticks around in this area for quite a while now. And the majority of her territory does it does overlap with the area that we traverse. We reckon the average size territory for a leopard is about 2,000 hectares. And she holds, this is about 1,000, so we don't think her territory extends too far beyond the borders. Check her again, look. Tails are twitching, there's something that's moving around here. Quite interesting to watch, every time she stops and looks, the male does also look at that. He's looking exactly the same spot that she was looking in now. See that straight line from his eye. His sister has a vertical line from her eye almost down to leading down towards her nose. But his goes directly away from his eye, horizontally. And she's also going to be watching out for hyenas as well, I believe. That could also be what she's checking on. It does look like they've eaten quite a lot from what I can see before we pulled around. But it wouldn't stop a hyena coming in and stealing the kill. I think someone was concerned that they're probably going to start moving away in the next couple of months or so, and that's not the case. They're still a little bit too young. They're about 6.5 months old now. And all this play is building up their jaw muscles and their muscles in their legs and paws, everything they're going to be needing to be an expert hunter like the mother. He just dropped the camera down a little bit. He's watching her tail, look. It will be a while before they're able to fend for themselves. If something happens to a female leopard when they're about a year old, they may be able to survive. There is the instinct in this cat, a very strong instinct to hunt. As in all cats. But even at this size, these cubs may be trying to hunt birds. They may be trying to hunt small mammals. Little female's watching what mum's doing now. He's heading... Where are you going, little one? I don't know if we're going to be able to see the little female on this side. No, she's just put her head down now. But around a year old, they may have learnt what they need enough to survive. They would have been watching the mother's techniques of hunting larger prey. They may be just a little bit too small to hunt larger prey themselves. Maybe small daker or steenbok dwarf antelopes they may be able to try and hunt. But maybe about a year and a half old, there's even more of a chance of them surviving without the mother. But it was only around between a year and a half and 2 years old. I think it was around a year and a half, maybe just over, that Mishu and Induna stopped responding to Karula's calling. Now what we'll find as these cubs grow up is that Karula will go and hunt, and she'll leave the cubs, and they'll start to wander further and further from where she leaves them, so she has to go and looking for them, and she'll start calling that. And that is a contact call. and she will use that to call them, and they'll generally respond. At the moment it's a very soft kind of it's almost like a very deep breath. It wobbles a little bit as well, which you can't. Oh, here comes a little female. See, Mum's watching, brother's watching, and she's now also watching. Keen to learn. Look at that tail twitching. She's going. Here comes the impala. Oh, you don't want to be doing that, mister. Look how brazen he is. That's obviously what she was watching. And she doesn't care. Now you might find this very strange. Look at the little female. Check Karula, check Karula. Something's going to happen between those two. Oh! We definitely need 3 cameras, 1 on each cat. Did you manage to get Karula pouncing?
Kind of.
So that's obviously that. There must have been that movement in the bush, because remember they kept looking over in the bush. But obviously the conditions weren't quite right for her to actually try and go and hunt this impala. And something, whether he caught the scent or saw them, but something alerted him, and that's when he started giving that alarm call, that really loud. And he came right up. And he was probably 30, 40 meters away. The reason why she didn't go for it, her cover is blown. He was keeping a large amount of distance between him and Karula to make sure that if she tried anything, he could run away and he would be able to get away. But he came as far up as possible and basically told her, "Your cover is blown, lady." So that's why she just carried on playing. I think she was keeping an eye on, because obviously with those horns, if he was to charge at one of the cubs or even herself, he could do some serious damage. Now, it would be very silly of him to do that, but if the cub was, I think that's why she was watching the female so intently, just making sure nothing was going to happen. It was quite interesting. She was very bold. The female went up to the male impala, and she was trying to stalk it almost. She was going down. Obviously, she'd been seen, but it was something for her to practice on. And Karula is going into the bush there. She's going behind the bush. She's just checking things out. Whereas the little male ran straight back to this carcass. He ran for cover. Quite interesting, the differences between the two characters there. And this is exactly what we're saying. We haven't really been able to spend too much time with them. And it's only now, I mean, we keep saying it looks like the female was staying close to Mum and she was being quite shy, but actually, in that situation, it was the male that ran to the tree and she carried on going. And once the leopard's cover is blown, it's very difficult for them to hunt. Now, the fact that that impala is still snorting, he's still calling, anything in the area is going to be taking notice of that, which is why I was finding it quite interesting that Karula was actually going off into the bush. It looks like she's just looking around. She keeps wandering in and out of the bush. She seems to be smelling things as she's going. Possibly just seeing who's been around. But I've seen her clawing this particular weeping wattle where the little male is eating the impala now. I've seen her clawing it and sitting underneath it, and it does seem to be one of her favourite spots. And she knew exactly where she was dragging this carcass to yesterday. Exactly where. And she made the kill roughly about where the impala was standing when he first came out. Here she comes. And I think she has hidden the cubs here before when they're a little bit younger. There's a termite mound just a few metres behind us, and I was sat with her in the morning. Being stalked by her own female, her own daughter. It was quite interesting that day because we could not find exactly where those cubs were, but Patrick came back in the afternoon and she called them and they were in that termite mound. So it seems to be one of her favourite areas. And she does seem to leave the cubs just a little bit further down on the junction between here and Triple N, the road I was talking about. So these cubs are learning this area very well, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is using different spots and intricately different areas of her territory. Now, I don't know if it's true, it's just my observation from what I've heard from viewers in the past and where she was. And maybe it's so when they get a little bit older, maybe they moving around this area a little bit more, and the boys a little bit further towards Gary Dam, but this territory is going to be too small to hold all of them together, but maybe it's just to give them a good start in life. And Induna is certainly utilising that, and he seems to be sticking around a lot more than what his brother Mishu is doing, but he keeps going back. This little male is really attacking that carcass. And here comes Karula again. I didn't see where the little female went. Oh, there she is, she's coming. Okay, so Karula's just in front of us. The little female is just in a thicket there, so she might just pop out here. And the impalas finally run away. And all this practicing stalking, she's stalking her mother again. And I think Karula did get a fright earlier. I don't think she realised she was that close. And all this is very important. This is their school, this is their education. The school of life. I'm just going to see if I can just pull back a little bit so we can see these two playing from behind it. Oh, could you see them there? Not really. Okay. So I'm trying not to move too much. That's why even when we had them behind the bush there, I'm just making sure that we were moving. Can you see it there? Because I don't want to get too close to the male with the carcass here.
Can't properly see it now. Only see it backside.
Because I think they're going to move again. And that's one of the secrets, it's not moving around them too much, just letting them get on with whatever it is and just moving occasionally. There we go, she's coming back now. It's the same, I don't want to get too close to the carcass and upset her. You can see she's just being Karula, their mother. Playing, relaxed, not a care in the world. Good morning to you, Annette. I'm hoping that I got your question right. There's a little bit of static when I got it through. I think you were saying you've heard that males sometimes stay in families with certain animals, and is it true with leopards? I think that was what your question was. The female might just come in and pounce again. Oh, got a nice whiff of the carcass there. Whew. And with leopards, they generally are a solitary cat. And females, when they're not with cubs, then they may be mating with a male. Excuse me. And her gestation period is probably around 100 days or so. So she can be on her own for that period of time. But most of their life will be taken up by rearing cubs, which takes usually around 2 years or so, give or take.
You go have a look at that cub again, because I can't see anything at the moment.
Yeah, we can try and move a little bit. We're going to have to just reverse a bit further around because he's right on the weeping wattle now. But generally, what usually happens is that male leopards will generally disperse and go and be a nomad for a couple of years while they build up their strength. You see him there? Okay there? And once they build up their strength, they'll tend to hold on to a territory because they'll be large enough to be able to compete against other leopards. Now, when they're young, they may be nomadic. They may cut through other leopards' territories. They may have to cut through a few leopards' territories before they get to an area where there may be no leopards, or they may just go unnoticed. It really depends on the situation. And further out from game reserves you go, the leopards tend to hold on to quite large territories because they need to have a large area to make sure they have enough food. So you may find a denser population of leopards outside game reserves, and they're actually the only one of the big five who are still able to roam around in areas where they're not game reserves. And unfortunately, because of that, a lot of people persecute them because they believe they take livestock. But when there's been projects that have been set up to actually try and show that it's actually not the case. So if you go to those areas, the leopards tend to hold on to much larger territories, and they tend to disperse a lot more. The males will probably be pushed out by other big male leopards, and especially when they get to that age where they may be able to breed. But obviously with them having large territories, it may be difficult for them to keep a track of those that come through their territory and chase them away. So it kind of is a bit of a play-off. So it may be easier for a nomad to hide away in that territory. But they'll obviously keep moving as well between territories. But here in the Sabi Sands, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because they tend to hold on to much smaller territories. But there is a large amount of prey here for leopards, and that's one of the reasons why they can hold on to much smaller territories, because it can still support a high density of leopards in this area. And then the nomadic leopards may have a little bit more of a hard time because with the territories being much smaller, they may be chased out. They may be able to find them and locate them a lot easier and chase them away. And that could be why Mishu is moving around quite a lot at the moment, because he's going up into Buffelshoek, he's coming He's been spending a lot of time in Arethusa to the west, so he may be back here as well. And there's 3 males that overlap with Karula in her territory, and he may be chased by any one of them, and so can Induna. Because once they start getting a bit older and they start getting to that level of maturity where they may start breeding, those males are going to find them more of a threat. But what we're finding quite interesting is that Karula hasn't chased them out yet. She's allowing them to stay and utilise her area. And there's even that exploded pride theory that here in the Sabi Sands, because there's so much prey available, it could be that related leopards are tolerating each other, and they may even possibly work together to hunt in some areas. Could be evolving just the whole behaviour of the leopards here in the Sabi Sands, because there's a high density. They're acting slightly different to maybe leopards elsewhere, but that's the beauty of nature. I mean, they adapt. And we do wonder if Misha and Induna worked together one day to actually pull down, I think possibly a baby wildebeest. There was something that they were eating, and they were found in the same spot. And this was probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. Really, it might just have been a coincidence. Without actually seeing it, it's very difficult to really say for sure. But generally the males will disperse, so they avoid mating with their mothers and their sisters. They avoid that inbreeding. And that is nature's way of doing it. You can see they've actually managed to get through the belly of the antelope now, and they're getting through to the meat. We started seeing Karula plucking the fur yesterday. You can see just where the male's eating. It's all nice and clean, allowing her to get into the belly without getting a mouthful of fur. Alright, let's see. You're wanting like 6.5 months old now. I think they were born maybe the first or second week of November. If anybody's wanting to see how to identify these two little cubs, so I have put pictures of the left hand side and the front part of the face up. Still have to put the right side of the face. But if you look carefully, as I was saying earlier, that little black line leading horizontally away from the eye, whereas his sister leads vertically down towards the nose. And if you look carefully above his whisker line, he's got two very large spots above his whisker line, either side, and they're also horizontal, whereas his sister has a little triangle and two dots above each other. You can see those two spots really nicely. You don't have to actually be that close to see them. Quite distinctive. And I'm sure as you look you might find your own way of identifying them. But so far that's, for me, quite distinctive between the two. And as they get older and as they grow, those spot patterns are going to grow with them. And on the front of his face you can see in between his eyes he's got sort of almost herringbone style of pattern. But they both lines are almost parallel to each other. It's quite interesting if you look at his face again. If he turns around, whereas his sister, they're quite slightly off. They're not exactly parallel to each other. Hi, Karula. Good morning to you. I'm just enjoying them playing earlier. I'm wanting to know if the cubs are born with the fight or flight, or whether it's given to them by the mother, whether they learn it from the mother. And I think a lot of it will be instinct, but some of it will be learnt from her. The natural curiosity of the cub is always there, but there is that element of sort of, should I or shouldn't I? And as they go through life, they can fine-tune it. Especially when they're very young. They will take the mother's lead in that she will tell them if it's safe to come or not. Whereas if they're not sure, then they'll just run away. But certainly watching the mother and seeing what she's scared of or what she's relaxed with, they'll be able to fine-tune it. But that is the natural instinct. Even if you're a child, you do have that fight or flight as well, especially the flight. The fight, it really does depend on the animal. But even if you've got a baby animal and it's backed up into a corner, there is that element of I don't like this, and they will try and fight. And certainly, if you're a child, there are things. If you think back to your childhood, and there were things that you were like, oh, I don't like that. And whether or not it was learnt from your parents, there were some things that, oh, I don't like that. It was that natural instinct, and that's the same for every animal, and that's why they will run back to mum. If you think about the baboons, there'll be that natural curiosity, and then they'll be, oh, not sure about that, run away. It's that survival instinct. That's quite an interesting part of behaviour, and it's a lot of it is, there's always a question, is it a learned behaviour or is it something that we're born with? And a lot of behaviour is a quite complex network of both. It really, you can't say it's either one or the other. It's a lot to do with both sides of it and how it's tuned, and there'll be a lot of things that she's teaching them that they're learning, but as I said earlier, even a year old, they may have the ability to survive. It just depends on that individual cat. And there may be things that they've been taught by the mother, or there may be things that they haven't yet been taught by the mother, but they might still be able to learn themselves, given the basics. Because I think already that little female is showing more of a willing to try and hunt. But you're watching him. We were seeing her earlier. Karula was looking at something, and he was immediately, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? And he was actually watching what she was looking at. They say that difference came in as soon as the impala came up to them. He was away in the tree, but the female was like, ooh, what's going on? Now that could work for her, that could work against her, because maybe her curiosity could be her downfall. It could be that she gets herself into a situation and she doesn't know how to handle it, whereas if the male is sort of going and hiding, maybe he's got that instinct to survive, but it may be that he doesn't put himself into situations where he's going to have to push himself, maybe in a hunting situation, for example. That could be the difference between them. What is quite interesting is we're seeing Karula bringing the cubs to where it looks like she might be hunting, and I think a couple of times we've seen them ago, that was the case. I think Mark was out on drive with the lions, and it sounded like she had the cubs with her. She left them, I think, close to Inga's house as she went off, and she actually made a kill somewhere down by the Bush Brae site, so fairly close to each other. As she's been doing that, she's bringing those cubs, and she did it yesterday. She came here to hunt, and she left the cubs fairly close by. I mean, it's still quite a distance, but it was fairly close by. I mean, she obviously brought the cubs from where she was hiding them, I think somewhere around the lodge. But she brought those cubs this side. And as they get older, she's going to be bringing the cubs closer and closer to where she's hunting, and they can actually observe her hunting. Hi, Weepat. Good morning to you too. Wanting to know how long can the leopards eat from a carcass before it goes bad? Well, they've got a very strong digestive system, and they are able to eat quite old meat. And believe me, I think if we were to eat this now, I think we would get upset stomachs. Seems it was made roughly around this time yesterday, actually. So it's a day old already, out in the sun. But if nothing comes to steal it, then it's starting to smell now, so it could attract hyenas tonight. But it could be that they've eaten enough that she might be able to put the remains up in a tree. But if they don't have it stolen from them, they may feed from this for another couple of days or so. It's quite a big impala. But I have seen cats eating fairly well gone meat. If they're hungry enough, they will. But otherwise, if they are able to hunt, then they may just turn their nose up at it. And I think Karula's quite particular. She seems to like her fresh meat. But when we had 2 kills, there was a steenbok and a daker, and it took her probably about a day and a half to eat the steenbok, and then she started on the daker a couple of days later. That's where the hyenas do come in. And when it gets very old and the cats will turn their nose up at it, they may still eat it. I would think I haven't seen Karula eat on a carcass probably after about day 4 or 5. But again, there's a lot of prey in this area, and she is a very successful hunter. Or huntress. He's keeping an ear on us. Good morning to you, Ashley. Wanting to know how long have they been eating meat and when would Karula have taken the meat to them? Oh, bless you. Okay, I think we need to maybe pull around the front again. Just gonna see what Karula's up to, if she's up to anything. We might be able to see the little male again. I think. Is he coming back out? Are you coming back out, little one? You're gonna go and see Mum. I think you might be going to see Mum. Maybe go for a bath. Can you see Karula up ahead? Can you see Karula straight up ahead? Don't pull around too much. Be directly opposite of. I can squeeze in here. For now, because I think he is going to go over and see it. He's here. But they'll start trying little bits of meat maybe from around 2 months onwards, usually around 3 months they'll really start eating meat. That's generally when most of the weaning has taken place, although they can still supplement the diet apparently after 3 months, maybe up until around 6 or 7 months they might still be drinking. But generally most of the weaning occurs around 3 or 4 months. And when they're very young, she'll leave them in a den and come back and feed them with milk rather than taking them to kills. Because at that age they're still very young and very vulnerable to predators. With Karula being so successful, I doubt they do need to supplement their diet with milk at this stage. I wonder if his sister's around there. I'm just thinking maybe we can go around the other side. I might be able to see them from a different angle. Maybe see the cubs if they're going to start playing with each other. Unfortunately, the sun's right in the wrong spot. We shall see. I'll try and get around here instead. Would you be able to see over these bushes? Do you think? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to see where it's going to be best because there's a few branches and bushes I wasn't counting on there. Thought this was quite a nice clear through spot. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be into the solar panel. Through there, it just pulls through here a little bit more. How about there? Okay, that's gonna be the best that we can see them. And there's a bit of break up there with that question. Hi Vivian, good morning to you. Wondering if this is one of Karula's largest kills. And this will be the upper end of what she's capable of. I'm talking about around a 40 kilo cat. She's quite a small cat. And male impala is probably about 50-60 kilos. So he's probably at the upper end of what she is able to hunt. Some of the larger leopards may be able to pull down wildebeest in some areas. I've seen footage of leopard actually hunting wildebeest, adult wildebeest. That's going to be a little bit too big for Karula. Maybe a baby wildebeest. I wonder what she's doing there. And she's actually covering some dung. I did see her go earlier. Maybe she's going to go again. Maybe the cubs went there. She's just covering it. So leopard don't usually cover their dung. It could be she's trying to hide or mask the scent of the cubs. Looks like she's going to the toilet herself. She might have just been scraping some of the vegetation away. And that's one of the reasons why they will move from den site to den site with the cubs, is to try and mask the scent of them as much as possible, try and reduce the possibility of them being detected by predators. Could also be that they move them around to where they're hunting so they don't have to be too far away from them. But they will leave them in a den site, and they will leave them to go off and hunt. Being a solitary predator, they don't have the luxury of leaving them with someone to babysit. You see the little cub here starting to pant, actually, which is what they do once they have a full belly. Once they have a full belly, they're going to be producing a lot of heat, so you get them panting a lot, trying to reduce the amount of heat in the body. I'm just going to pull forward a little bit, actually. Oh, you can see the female there. The little male is quite out in the open there. Hi, Jody. Good morning to you over there in New Mexico. Asking if Karula doesn't suckle, will the milk dry up? And how long will that take? I think it has a lot to do with how successful the mother is at hunting, how much food is available. Because it's not an exact science. So we always say, when we say they can be weaned around this time, but it could be give or take a month or two. So I've always known lions and leopards to really be weaned around 3 or 4 months, but then we found out the other day that it can be up to maybe 6 months, especially in lions, which is the first time I've ever heard of that. And I think it does have a lot to do with how much food is available. So if there's a lot of food available, I think that weaning process happens a lot quicker. And once the cubs stop suckling, then the milk should dry up because there's no longer a need for it. So it could be in areas where there's maybe not as much food for leopards. It could be that the female can support her cubs that little bit longer, just to give them that extra nutrition that they need. And the same for the lions. But I'd say it's more the lions as well, around the 6 to 7 months. But as I say, I've never seen cubs past 3 months, 3.5 months. I've never seen them go past that. As I say, it was news to me the other day. But generally, when the cubs don't need the milk and they're not suckling, generally they will dry up. But from what we've seen, and as I say, we haven't been able to, and that's one of the reasons why I'm staying here now, is to spend a bit of time with the family, because we haven't really had this opportunity to spend as much time with them. And as yet, we haven't actually seen the cubs suckle at all. We didn't see them even when they were very small. Whenever we saw them, she was moving them from den side to den side. But my guess is they're not taking milk anymore. My guess is that they are fully weaned. But the problem is we only see a very small part of their life, and that could be why I've not seen maybe lions before suckling when they're a little bit older, because they won't need to suckle as much when they are eating meat. It could be that, again, they were a very successful pride. There was often a kill. They were killing nearly every day. They were very, very successful. It could have been that they just didn't need to eat, or they didn't need to drink because there was enough meat available. But also weaning is not a very quick process. It does take time. It's not one day they'll drink milk and one day they'll then eat meat. It's a very gradual process. And maybe that's where the 6 months comes in. These cubs are just a little bit too full now. Oh. Cat stretch. Half-hearted play. Let's see if we can pull forward a little bit more. Go. A little bit further forward. It might just be past that clump of grass. Good morning to you, John. Good to hear from you. Still no penguins, but we do have Karula and the cubs for you this morning. I'm wanting to know, did the jigger or the Gunda play a role in the hunt? We seem pretty close to the action. We actually didn't. We actually missed the hunt because yesterday Texan was here having drinks with his guests, so we didn't want to disturb them. So we were on Zoe's Road, and I was trying to piece together bits of information that we got from the guides, and that there were some tracks of hers seen with one set of cub tracks. And I was wondering, maybe someone said there was possibly a kill in the area. So I thought, well, maybe if if there is, she might go back to it if all the other vehicles have disappeared. Maybe she was disturbed because they did go walking in there. So we did wonder if that's what happened. So I thought, well, let's try Zoe's Road once everything calms down. And we came back. We were looking at a track, and Texan did actually say that she came out into the open because we thought she may be heading this way. So that was one of the two possibilities, that she was still heading this way. And she popped out in the Impala. She actually hunted the Impala. And we were still around on Zoe's Road, but we managed to get here just as we saw her dragging it to the Weeping Wattle. But I think I'm just hearing, I think I misunderstood your question, John. I thought you were talking about the kill yesterday. But the Impala this morning, I don't think so. The reason being, these animals get very used to seeing vehicles out and about and stopping and looking, and I doubt we weren't moving at the time either. We were very stationary, and it was just watching their reaction. They were watching something in the bush, and it must have been the winds. It wasn't really blowing, but it may have been a scent. It may have been the carcass. It may have been even just the sight of the leopard, because she wasn't really being careful about the way she was moving through the bush. The cubs were sitting out on the branch and all that sort of thing. So it could have been he just happened to spot them at that particular moment. And once the alarm call goes, let's say their cover is blown, she didn't seem to be too bothered. I'd say she was looking, but she seems to be very energy conscious, and she'll only go for a hunt if she really decides it's the perfect opportunity. If anything is slightly wrong, she won't go for it. So certainly having a cover blown with the male Impala here, I really don't think she was too phased. And you can see she got up and walked away with her tail curled over in full view of it. I mean, there's no point. And that is one of the reasons why these alarm calls are given. One, to tell everyone in the area, hey, there's a predator here, keep your eyes peeled. But also to let the predator know, you've been spotted, your cover is blown. Don't bother trying to hunt me, because I'm onto you. I don't know about you, but I can't think of a better way I'd want to spend a Monday morning. Good morning, Diana. Something's caught these two cubs' interest. You're hearing a bird chattering away in the distance there. Ah, it's knob birds. I'm just realising it's dwarf mongoose, and they've seen the cubs, I think. Very Just having a quick look with the binoculars. They are a little bit of a distance away. No, that's not what I thought. I thought it was a dwarf mongoose sitting on top, but it's actually not. It's somebody complaining. I think we do need to turn around. Where's the little female going? Again, look at that posture. Ears are forward. She's very alert. The tail's twitching. Little male staying back. Just want to try and see if we can just pull her out. We can see what they're up to. Also, I don't want to be in between Karula and the cubs. I just want her to be able to see them at all times, as not in the way as much as possible, but she doesn't seem to be too bothered. See her just past the tree there, so she's looking like she might just try and climb into the tree. No, she's going that way. Diana wanting to know what may hunt leopard. Now, adult leopard may come under attack from hyena if they have got food. They may come under attack from lion. Lion is probably one of the biggest killers of leopard and other leopard. But they don't really have any other predators to really worry about. But when they're this size, this is when the danger happens. Because they are still very small, and that's one of the reasons why they still need their mother. Want to provide food for them, but also for protection. And they can be under threat from hyena and lion as well as other leopards. But when this age, I don't think jackal or small predators would be a problem for them. Maybe a rock python still at this stage. Maybe an eagle if it was really hungry and these cubs were out in the open like this. Possibly. But certainly when they're a little bit smaller, they could fall prey to even the small carnivores if they found them in a den. But as they get bigger and bigger, they're going to be able to stand their ground, and they're going to be able to look after themselves. And even a hyena, we've seen Mishu when he's about 2 years of age. I'm not too sure what that was about. It sounded almost like a furball. We have seen him having a standoff between him and watch the cubs again. They're going to pounce on each other. She's going flat, he's in the tree. And this was actually how Mishu was. He was up in a tree watching the hyena, and they came almost nose to nose. But because he didn't have any food, there was no threat from the hyena. The hyena kind of just looked at him and went, oh, okay. And there was almost a mutual understanding that either one could do each other harm. We were just still eating away on the carcass. You can hear a crunch, crunch, crunch. Let's see if we can move back a bit. Or forward. Back's probably better. Oh, watch the male, watch the male. Okay, I can't move now. Looks like male's going to pounce on the female again. Ah. I'm surprised you haven't got indigestion. watching stalking. He's going very, very slowly, very carefully. Look at this. These are flats. Morning. Sorry, my radio is not working here. Yeah, go for it. The cubs are just here. Karula's just on the kill. Sorry? Oh, they're just playing here, so wherever you can see them is fine. Yeah, probably just next to us is fine because they've been utilising this area a lot. Is there anyone else interested? Because I haven't been able to hear anything.
Somebody from Torchwood, but they said they'll contact when they're closer. They wanted to know where it was.
Okay, yeah, my radio is just not picking up anything here.
No problem. Yesterday morning, that's her over there. Those are the two cubs.
Oh, Karula's coming out now as well. And she's going to go and join the cubs again. And she comes. I'm just going to pull around a little bit. Can you see it now? Yeah, just down. That's fine. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Otherwise, we'll just work around you.
Sorry?
We'll just work around you. It's fine. Morning. think we do need to move, maybe just behind them. Oh, maybe they're coming out again. Let's see, whitetails. And there's a lady herself. Yeah, we've got a tree again. See just through there. You see the tails. We were saying we'd possibly go back towards Gowrie Dam, but I think this has just been so nice to spend some quality time with the little family here at Juma. And while they're still active, I think we'll stay with them. But if they decide to start sleeping, then we'll leave them. But there's just something happening all the time with them. Felt that one. Yeah. And she's really hitting these cubs with quite a lot of force at the moment. little female is going to come and jump on Karula. She's going around the back there. No, she's coming around the front now. Ooh. Morning to you, Joe. And I'm just loving this. I hope you guys are at home. I'm sure you are. This really is quite fantastic. I'm so glad this family is just full of beans this morning. I'm wondering if there is a point where they'll become too relaxed around the Gunda and us. And that's one thing that they are learning. They're learning not to be afraid of the vehicles. Karula is just so relaxed around the vehicles. But she does still tell you from time to time, keep your distance, like yesterday. Someone just parked just a little bit too close to her and she told them, back off. But there may be a point. Here comes Karula, look. There may come a point where they do become very inquisitive of the vehicles, but at the moment you can see them walking past the vehicles. They're pretty relaxed. I need to pull this back again. But she doesn't pay too much attention to the vehicles, and that's kind of being passed on to the cubs. But curiosity might just get them to the point where they do come in and have a look around. Now it depends on what they do. If they just have a quick sniff of the vehicle and then move away, then that's fine. But if they take too much of an interest in it, maybe put a paw on the vehicle or come and have a good sniff of us, then we may just have to do something to discourage it, and that's for their own protection, that's for their lives, because if they get to the point where they're too familiar and they may put a paw on the vehicle, they may just push that boundary a little bit more. They may start jumping on the vehicle, and once they start jumping on the vehicle, what's to stop them jumping into a guest's lap? And obviously that we can't have. And if it gets to that stage, that leopard is going to have to be put down, unfortunately, because it then poses a threat to the public. So for the sake of their own lives, if it gets to that stage, they do get too familiar, they come right up to us and put a paw on us or whatever, you have to stop it before it gets to that stage. So we may have to turn the vehicle on, or, you know, just sort of go, "Whoa," or something. Look at him, he's biting through this tail, look. Okay, we're just going to have a quick battery change. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. at least for the time being, we don't need to worry about that. Welcome back, everybody. We don't need to worry about them coming up too close to the vehicle. We can let them just enjoy their play. You all run yourselves out now. Nope. Also going where her mum went. Sorry, his mum went. Well, the cubs have gone quiet, and I'm wondering if they're up to mischief again. My mum always used to say, if she could hear noise, she was fine. She knew that we were playing quite happily, but as soon as it went quiet, she knew we were up to mischief. I wonder if it's the same here. Should we go and see what the cubs are doing on the carcass? Seeing as there's just a few minutes left, we're not going to be able to get back to the dam at all. Let's try and see if I can pull around here. And go around a long way. I was quite happy chilling out there. And hopefully it's giving everybody a chance to spend some quality time with Karula, whether you were able to log on this morning or maybe just joined us. It really has been a beautiful, beautiful morning here at Jimmy Game Reserve with Karula and her small family, and sharing just a snapshot of their lives. And it's certainly the first time I've seen the cubs playing so much like this. This really has been very special. Feeling, I'm not surprised actually, all the energy that they've just taken in. Can you see them at all there? Running around. Now I can see the other ones just on this side of the weeping wattle. Okay, I'm just going to see if we can just angle ourselves a little bit more. I'm not sure if we are going to be able to see them too well now. Can you see her at all there? A little bit. I can just see spots now on the other side of the weeping wattle. And quite nicely, that branch that may have fallen down in the big storm we had a couple of weeks ago is making for very nice cover now. And they've dragged the impala underneath the branches there. It's a beautiful temperature here. I'm not surprised they were enjoying some time, quality family time together. And we might be able to see the other one on the other side of the wattle there. Otherwise, we shall start to say goodbye to them. Now they are settling down. And we'll start to digest their food. Throughout the day, we're going to be panting quite heavily. What are we doing at the back there? There's a spot that I can go through. Oh, yeah, that's quite a good word. There we go. Just there? That's the little male again. Definitely ready for a cat nap. Oh, what a perfect way to say goodbye. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a fantastic Monday. From here in Leopard Dreamland, here in the Juma Game Reserve, South Africa. It really has been a very special morning here. And there was always something going on with those cubs in Karula. It really has been fantastic. Some quality time with our favourite family here, Karula and her cubs. Thank you very much for joining us here on Wild Earth. I hope you can join us for our next live safari tomorrow morning, 6:30 Central Africa time, where I'll be heading out once more. My name's Tara. Joining me on camera this morning has been Herman, and back in final control is Craig. Thank you for all your questions, and we'll see you here again on Wild Earth. Bye everybody.
Good morning, everyone. This is Craig in Final Control, and thank you for joining us for our AIM safari this morning. Very nice for those little leopard cubs. And you can join us tomorrow morning at 6:30 Central African time. So have a good day wherever you are in the world, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.